What's up guys, welcome back. In today's video we're going to be looking at a brand new direct drive wheelbase by Cammus. We'll also be looking at their GT1 steering wheel and along with their quick release. So stay tuned, we're going to be talking about all the pros and cons and share with you guys my experience and review. Let's jump right into it. So starting off guys, let's go ahead and talk about the wheelbase itself. My first impressions when I first got this wheelbase, you can just see and feel how heavy this wheelbase is, which weighs in at approximately 25 pounds, which is 11.5 kilograms. And it is very nicely built, made out of aluminum. It just feels nice and solid. I'm also going to be covering with you guys the dimensions of this wheelbase, which is approximately 11.5 inches from front to back. It is about 7.5 inches from left to right and approximately 5.5 inches from bottom to top in height. So as I mentioned, the wheelbase just feels solid and it has some nice weight to it. It definitely feels like it's going to be coming in handy at 15 Newton meters, which is going to be very powerful for the force feedback in whichever game you're going to be playing with, which we can go ahead and adjust those settings and force feedback within the Cammus software, which we will be able to download directly from the Cammus website. So having a look at the front of the wheelbase, you'll notice that we have several different push buttons that we'll be able to program through the software and our game that's going to allow us to control different features and functions that are just going to be coming in nice and handy. We also do have, besides the buttons, two different toggle switches. One is a momentarily toggle switch, so you're just going to be able to press it and it's going to return back to the neutral position. And then we also have one that is a 3-position toggle switch, which is going to go from up, middle, and down. So depending what you want to program, maybe the ignition of your car or your headlights or whatever it is, we have several different options, but we do have the option between the buttons and those two toggle switches. At the front of the wheelbase, you'll also notice that we do have this power on and off button. When we go ahead and simply press the power button, the green LED light is going to illuminate on the power button, which is going to tell us that the wheelbase is turned on. And also once we've turned it on, the wheelbase and the steering wheel is going to do a little bit of a calibration, so just let the steering wheel move freely when you first power it on, and then you can go ahead and do any further adjustments or calibration within the Cammus software. Also at the front of the wheelbase, we do have these two rotary dials that's going to allow us to control different settings depending on what we program it as well. Overall, the buttons, the toggles, and along with the rotary dials, they do feel nice. This is the only wheelbase that I do see on the market that do have these features of the buttons and the switches and the dials. So I will like to say that having these buttons and dials and switches here at the front of the wheelbase is going to be coming in handy for those of you that want to be using an aftermarket steering wheel, and possibly your aftermarket steering wheel does not have any buttons and switches or any types of controls, so therefore you can still use your aftermarket steering wheel with this wheelbase, and therefore you can still have access to the buttons and switches and dials right there on the wheelbase, which I'm going to say is a fantastic feature. So having a look at the side of the wheelbase, we do have an option here that's going to allow us to side mount this wheelbase to our sim racing rig, depending what kind of setup and mounting option that works best for you. So having a look at the bottom of the wheelbase, we actually have these 4 holes that's going to allow us to mount and screw down our wheelbase to our sim racing rig. If you don't want to side mount it, we do have the option to mount it via the bottom. So in my case, I actually took advantage of the 4 screw holes at the bottom of the wheelbase, and I also purchased separately the Cammus hardware mounting kit for the wheelbase that I can mount mount it to my sim racing rig. It actually comes in 3 pieces, the bottom plate and the left and right plate, which allows you to assemble it together, mount it to the wheelbase, and then mount it to your sim racing rig. Overall, it feels nice and sturdy and strong, and it's well made, well designed. You can adjust the angle, and I'm impressed with that. If you guys do need that option, it is available to you. So next, let's have a look at the back of the wheelbase, which we will notice right off the bat there is a built-in fan, which is going to be blowing in nice, cool, fresh air into the wheelbase itself to help with any overheating and just in general cooling down the wheelbase itself, because at 15 Newton meters, depending if you have it at full 100% force feedback, it might want to tend to kind of get a little bit hot. But in this case, we have nothing to worry about because it does have a fan built in, which is going to automatically turn on when it needs to. You will also notice at the back of the wheelbase at the bottom, we have several different inputs and outputs that's going to allow us to connect the AC/DC adapter power supply, which is going to supply power to the wheelbase. And we also can connect a USB cable, which is provided with the kit, that's going to allow us to plug it in directly to our PC and therefore be able to communicate from the wheelbase to our PC directly. We do also have a bunch of different connections that we can connect a shifter, for an example, an emergency stop, a handbrake, any pedals, and we can connect those via these LAN cables here, which is also a nice fantastic feature because everything can kind of be integrated into one and be working all together simultaneously. So as I mentioned before, this direct drive wheelbase is 15 Newton meters and the torque is connected directly to the shaft, so there are no belts, and it does also have a servo sensor, which is going to make us have a nice realistic gaming experience when we're using this wheelbase. So if you guys are interested in purchasing any of this Cammus sim racing gear that you guys seen in this video, or even any Cammus sim racing gear that you may see on their website, I will be able to save you guys 5% off with this discount coupon code at checkout. All you need to do is enter SAVE Cammus, which is SAVECAMMUS. Just enter this code at checkout and it will be able to save you 5% off on your total purchased order. I will also leave a link down below in this video in the description so you guys can go ahead and click on it and take you directly to the site, and you guys can go ahead and take a look in more detail on these products and the Cammus website that we covered in this video. So up next, let's have a closer look at the steering wheel. This GT1 steering wheel is actually wrapped in leather and also hand stitched, and we will also notice at the top of the steering wheel, right in the dead center, we do have this little blue kind of wrap little ring that's going to allow us to know when we're racing or even when we're calibrating the steering wheel that that is the dead center, so therefore we know when our tires are straight and therefore we know when the steering wheel is calibrated properly. So at the front of the wheelbase, you'll notice that we have 4 different buttons along with the 2 toggle switches and also the 2 rotary dials. This is going to allow us to program these functions and controls to these buttons and dials and switches nice and easily via our game. We can assign whatever functions we want just to make our driving experience a little bit better. I feel that the positioning of these switches and buttons are nice and easy because when I'm racing with my hands on the steering wheel, I can simply kind of reach over with my thumbs and just kind of push the buttons or the toggles, whatever I want. So having these buttons and features here at the front of the steering wheel is just fantastic and also a great option. You'll also notice at the front of the steering wheel that we do have this nice carbon fiber plate, which just overall gives it a nice look. So having a closer look at the back of the steering wheel, you'll notice that we do have these 2 carbon fiber paddle shifters, which is going to allow us to gear up and also gear down. These paddle shifters are actually operating with a magnetic sensor. You'll notice a magnet at the back of each one of these paddles shifters that's going to basically make like a clicking sound when you're gearing up and gearing down. I will also mention that these paddle shifters can be adjusted further out away from the steering wheel and further in, closer in, so it's easier for you to position these paddle shifters to your liking. So therefore when you're racing, you can have your hands on nice firm grip on the steering wheel, and you can also have the paddle shifters positioned where you like to, so it's easy to access. This GT1 steering wheel is approximately 13 inches in diameter, and I will mention that the overall build quality and the design and placement of all the buttons and the switches and the dials and the paddle shifters and even the leather wrapping around the steering wheel is just a great experience and feels like it's well made and designed. So up next, we're going to have a closer look at the Cammus quick release. This quick release is going to make your experience so much easier when it comes down to installing your wheel onto your wheelbase or taking off your wheel from your wheelbase. There is a built-in locking mechanism button that you're going to have to press down along with sliding back the quick release when you want to take off your steering wheel from your wheelbase. So overall, I do recommend the quick release as it's just going to make your overall experience much easier and faster, so you're ready to switch wheels just like that in a matter of seconds. So now that we've had a closer look at the wheelbase and the steering wheel and the quick release, and you have everything assembled and mounted to your rig and connected to your PC, you're going to want to go ahead and visit the Cammus website so you can go ahead and download the Cammus software. Within that software, we're going to be able to see what devices we have connected, and we're also going to be able to adjust the parameters. We're also going to be able to download and install the latest firmware update, and also be able to calibrate the steering wheel and adjust any parameters such as force feedback and the road effects and all these different kind of settings that the software is going to allow us to adjust. I will also mention, besides the PC software, we also do have a Cammus iOS app that we're going to be able to download for free from the App Store, and that's exactly what I've done. We're able to connect our wheelbase and our steering wheel to the app via the Bluetooth. We can also scan the QR code if needed, if that makes it a little bit easier, and therefore we can also adjust the parameters right there on our mobile device without actually having to open the software on our PC. So it is also a nice, great feature to have the iOS app on our mobile phones to adjust any parameters and settings.
Yo, get the speaker box loud, hitting that stuff till you hearing that sound. Hitting that stuff till you
Well guys, it looks like it's that time of the video to give you guys my overall thoughts and opinion and review of the Cammus wheelbase and the steering wheel and the quick release and also the mounting kit. So overall, my whole Cammus setup, if you guys cannot tell already, I'm definitely impressed of the build quality and the design. One thing that I would like to see in possibly a future model is that the wheelbase not be so big and possibly not so heavy, but you know what, it's not that big of a deal if you do have a proper sim racing setup or even desk or some sort of way to mount it, a nice solid rig that you can mount the wheelbase on. And overall, with the 15 Newton meters force feedback and torque that we have with this wheel, I'm very impressed. It does feel really nice and realistic and strong, and we do have the options to dial it down with the Cammus app via our PC and also with our mobile phones. And again, the nice easy connection from the wheelbase to our PC with the USB, all the cables and everything is included. We have the toggle switches and buttons and dials on the steering wheel. Overall, I'm very impressed. At $499 USD for the wheelbase itself and also $200 USD for the steering wheel, you cannot go wrong. It's going to be a little bit extra money for the shipping cost and maybe duties and taxes into your country, but overall at this price range and the quality and all the specs and features and everything that is included with this kit, I'm definitely very impressed. Overall, I'm going to definitely recommend it. If you guys do have any comments, questions, concerns, let me know down in the comment section down below. I'll definitely be reading them and getting back to you with my best answer as soon as possible. I'm looking forward to seeing you guys on the next video. Until next time, peace.
Yo, get the speaker box loud, hitting that stuff till you hearing that sound.